post this, it will be very much appreciated. Tongo, we don't 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. As I 18, it was 8 and 9. I think it's going to get a shake or somewhere. But I know Kuti, we are going to revisit this again, as I said, with Chennai, Tonyanso Zigazika. One of the reasons why this has become so much of a talking point or of an issue, especially this thing to do with the Mutapa Investment Fund, is because of what the former advisor to Nelson Jamisa, Professor Mogano, said a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, not a couple, a few weeks ago, when he visited the Mutapa investment offices, and he came out of there saying that he has been let in and he has a first-hand information about this fund, and it is a game changer. So as he said that it was a game changer, Wopo Jungono took him to task about it, and that their debate is continued. I think yesterday it culminated in Wopo penning, is it yesterday or this morning, a long response to what Professor Mogano had said to him, Party Wopo Miswa, etc. etc. Yeah, so it's quite interesting that um if you follow, if you've been following that conversation, it's a conversation which I found it to be quite interesting, enlightening, and you know, eye opening in as far as this is concerned. Because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had from a perspective of not idolizing people or demonizing people, but for us to have a deeper understanding of the structure of this structure, because it affects millions of lives. I'm going to explain how this is quite important, and why we should be talking about this, and why we should be engaging with this, and the evidence that has been provided, why we should be looking into that. I think it is quite important. I know, Kuti, some of us, we do not have the time to read the report. I think it's about 100 it's about 160, I think it's 155 pages, altogether. So it's quite a lengthy, document. It's quite a lengthy, document. So I'm hoping that Kune Awo, who have come across that document, who have read that document, can come through, and we can have a conversation about the document. So the topic that I've come up with is the Mutapa Investment Fund report. Is the fund a game changer or a centralized risk? So I'm going to explain, and I'm going to like sort of bring you guys up to speed, especially if you have not had the time to look at the report, to read the report. I read it. I read, the report, even though I haven't actually finished, reading, like, to the last pages. There were some just interesting key points or interesting parts of that report that I was reading. But I think over the period of this weekend, I'm going to devote some time to actually read, the whole document, and get, the grasp of what, this document, is all about. So, from what I could gather, just reading that document, and how I want us to have this conversation um is to try and step away from any propaganda that is surrounding this, and to try and immerse ourselves in the evidence that has been provided in this annual report, and what it really means. Because the Mutaba Fund, ladies and gentlemen, is not just another policy headline that the government of Zimbabwe came up with, but it is something that is in control of the Zimbabwean economy. I'm going to explain why. It's in control of the Zimbabwean economy because we are talking about more than 60 state-owned enterprises and subsidiaries across different areas of the economy. Talk about mining, talk about agriculture, talk about energy, talk about transport, talk about finance, talk about ICT. And when we put these together, they represent billions of dollars in national assets. I'm talking about US dollars here. And potentially the future of Zimbabwe, the future trajectory of our development as a nation. That is what it is. I think we've had conversation with Chennai. She has spoken about that investment. Is the largest of its kind in Zimbabwe. Is the largest. N- I see, they try to give us, the history, saying that it's something that was muted around 2012, they're about culminating in the passing of the, I think, the policy, documents until it was fully, realized in 2024 with the setting up of a structure that is to oversee the running of this, entity. So a lot has been said about this. Many people have commented from from across political divide. People have commented. People have given the attack. And as far as the Mutapa fund is concerned. So yeah, but one thing that we all need to be familiar with and want to know is we are talking about 60 state-owned enterprises. So virtually we can say that almost every enterprise in Zimbabwe is falling under the Mutapa. That is where we are heading. I don't know if there are any that are not falling under the Mutapa, but that is where we are heading. So is so much has been spoken about, so much has been said. We've had commentators like Professor Gift Mugano, who described this fund here as a game changer, meaning it's sort of a revolutionary shift that can be used to unlock value, improve enterprises, and actually place us on an economic footing that we have never seen before in Zimbabwe. I'm talking about Zimbabwe. So that's how he saw this. That's how he considered this. So let me delve a little bit into why he came why I believe he came because this is according to him, Kuti, when he said it's a game changer. I think it's I tried to reach out to him to say, do you mind if we can have a space where we can interrogate the language that you have used to say that this is a game changer? But he just said, you guys already have a position on it. So is there any point in debating or in any point in having a conversation around that? I just thought that he was just, dunking. But yes, I might have a position, but you're the one who's coming up, with something that is worth, talking about. So you're not talking about my position. We want to talk about your position. You understand? So I was hoping that you would come back to me, but he did not. But if by saying that the Mutapa Investment Fund is a game changer, if he's saying we've got a new legal and institutional structure that now exist in Zimbabwe. If he's saying we've got a consolidated view of all the state assets, because they've been put in one place. So we now have that consolidated view of all the state assets. And if he says that this fund here gives us an opportunity to do things in a way that we've never done before, to do things, differently, right? Then I would agree with him to say, yes, this Mutapa fund is bringing in a significant shift structurally. And it is a game changer structurally. It is a game changer. By putting in place these new structures, the new legal framework, institutional framework, consolidating all the state assets that you can think of under one roof, and also presenting an opportunity for us to do things differently. Yes, I would agree with him that it is a game changer. Structurally, it is a game changer because it is making these changes. But if by a game changer you're speaking about this is a game changer and therefore the economy has already been transformed. If he's talking about these state enterprises are now being efficient, are now being run efficiently. If he's talking about that, all the governance issues or concerns that people might be having have been resolved, then from that perspective, I'm afraid there isn't sufficient evidence to support him. Even with the publication of this annual report, there isn't evidence that can support him if by being a game changer he's talking about that we're already seeing the transformation of our economy, that we're already seeing the efficient running of our state enterprises, that we are seeing all the governance issues involved have been resolved. Those things alone, structurally, I will agree with him, but those things alone, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are not yet there.